Hello and welcome to Reviews. Now, I was cautiously optimistic of this book. I've mentioned it many times. I loved Dr. Octopus's Superior Spider-Man when Dr. Octopus was in Peter Parker's body. Um, it rejuvenated the book for me. I know some people don't like it. I wish, had it not been for the Spider-Man movie that had come out at that time, I wish they could have gone on longer with that. So I'm kind of glad that we have, Dr. Octopus as a wannabe superhero back because you I think people who were expecting Spider-Man, like Peter Parker, but it depends on what you were expecting with that book. I know some people absolutely hated it. Some people who just hate Dan Slott's writing. I actually enjoyed it. You could do so much with this character. In this, trying to redeem himself, but just being bad at it or being too extreme. You know, Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I've been very cautiously optimistically looking forward to this book, and it did not let me down. So, going to try and do this really quickly here. Kind of not bad cover. I will say, if I have one complaint, I don't like this costume. Um, Something about the chest symbol, which we'll see more in there, and the colors used. The gray and black. I kind of wish they'd gone with a different color. I know Dr. Octopus was, really green and yellow, but I feel we just need a slight redesign on this, and it'd be perfect. Uh, this is also a Edge of Spider-Geddon book. I wasn't planning on picking that up. I picked up Spider-Verse when, that series, and, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't really interested in it, in Spider-Geddon, but as you saw, I did pick this up. I haven't read it yet, but um, so yeah, there's a backup feature in the back of the book about that. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to dive in, and I'm going to try and do this pretty quickly. If I do have one complaint about this book is, I don't mention the art a lot. Um, because when I look at art, some people are all about how pretty the book is. I look more for how the story flows. And while this book, I feel it did very well, it's something about the art, I kind of hated it and liked it, if that makes sense. I didn't think the art was very great to look at, but it was very reminiscent of like 80s 90s comics, mostly with the panel layouts and everything and just the overall look to it. So I'm on the fence on if I like the art or not. So but yeah, it starts off, we find out that Otto, Dr. Octopus, Superior Octopus, has moved to San Francisco because that's where everyone moves to now. If you're not in New York, you're in San Francisco. And the oh god, what were these characters called? The Night Crew, Night Watch, whatever. Um, when I open this book up, I'm like, wait a minute, I remember this guy, Digger, and Dancing Macabre, the Brothers Grimm, and yeah, it was starting to come back to me. I haven't seen these characters in ages. Um, so I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun, digging back in. I don't know if they've appeared recently. I think the last time I saw them was like, I don't know, maybe they were in Thunderbolts, but last time I saw them, if it wasn't in a Marvel handbook, Marvel Universe handbook, it was in 20, 30 years ago. So, and then Octopus comes up and, you know, uh, breaks them up as they're doing their robbery of a bus. And what's interesting is Dr. Octopus is shooting ink out of his web shooters now, like I don't know, kind of like a. At first, when I looked at this, I thought it was like a venom goop, but I'm like, oh, of course, he's an octopus. He's shooting ink. So, um, one thing I think I have to mention is they brought up the Superior Octopus, and it is mentioned in here during the Secret Empire. And I didn't read the Spider-Man tie-ins. I had given up when they rebooted the Amazing Spider-Man with a new #1 after Peter took back his body. I read a couple issues when he was doing Parker Industries in Japan, and I gave up. I wasn't interested in it. So I know they brought him back in that arc, but I didn't read it, so I can't really speak to that. I know he was associated with Hydra, and so maybe that's where the green in here comes from, other than his old costume. So basically, there's a little fight with them, and I mean, for someone with Spider-Man's type abilities, oh, he's back in a clone body made of Otto's and Peter's genetics put together. So just figured I have to mention that. But basically, this is a pragmatic approach. He doesn't just beat him up and leave him for the police. He makes them a deal. He'll pay them to not commit crimes and to be his eyes and ears in San Francisco while he's still learning the city and um, fitting in. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a pragmatic approach. That's what I like about Octopus. Um, that even Peter, during the Superior Spider-Man arc, Ghost Peter would say, "Why didn't I think of doing that?" And so yeah, it's nice to see someone diffusing a situation. Yeah, we have a little fight scene here, but you know, turning it to his advantage. I think that's what I like about him. So he comes back to his lair, and he's kind of reminiscing. Bringing the reader up, and talks about how he's moved to the West Coast, and he mentions that Daredevil had been there, and he even makes fun of the current West Coast Avengers. And I like how he's doing the octopus haircut with basically a younger version of him and Peter's body, so it gives a nice little different look. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be obviously, he doesn't look just like Peter. We'll find out why in a second. But yeah, I guess this is supposed to be a thin, an Otto mixed with Peter. But it's it's an interesting look. And we find that he's taken over a new name since technically Otto Octavius is dead. So he's Elliot Tolliver is his name. Why do I recognize that name? Was that his like peer in the Superior Spider-Man series? I don't even, that name rings a bell, and I can't think of what it is at the moment. So as he's walking up to Horizon University, born of Horizon Labs from the old Spider-Man run, a couple female students come up. I still have some questions. When are your office hours? I was hoping for some one-on-one time. And Otto says, office hours, an archaic concept. Kindly ask your questions in class where all may benefit from an explanation. Excuse me, ladies. Yeah, one of the girls, she calls her out on her friend. Hitting on the teacher? Could you be more cliche? Hey, he's got the worldliness of an older guy, but he's close to our age. He's a unicorn. And, he does talk about how he's been trying to stay away from areas of research that Otto would be known for, but then runs into probably the best part of the Superior Spider-Man, Anne Marie. Now, in case you didn't read that book, he had a little relationship, no pun intended, sorry, a relationship with her when he was in Peter's body. They fell in love with each other, and it put Peter, when he got his own body back, in a weird position because she fell in love with the guy who was inside Peter, and I'm sure looking like Peter didn't hurt, but it made things a little awkward to find out that the person she fell in love with was not who she thought he was. I mean, quite literally. So it puts him in this weird position because she didn't know Peter before, she didn't know Otto before. Did he take advantage of the situation? But the thing about this is, he expresses regret, and she seems to recognize him. I could have sworn we've met before, at TED conference maybe. And he says, a waste of my time, and from what I've seen of your work, yours. Fool, you're fawning over her. Could you possibly be any more obvious? Allay her suspicions. the best thing about Doc Ock, the superior octopus, is that I imagine he has fun to write. You know, to kind of do that boisterous, kind of supervillain talk, but to do it as a hero, as a good guy. It's a fun read. I mean, I'm loving it. And, he tries to come up with excuses. Perhaps our paths crossed professionally. Where did you work before this? Kind of just making small talk. But, she says, I love it, but I needed a change after I got out of a toxic relationship. Turned out he wasn't the man I thought he was. And, anyway, she says, look, rambling, like you need to hear about my personal problems. Sorry, Italians, we talk. Have a good one, Elliot. And yeah, so we see he's actually, he feels regret, and I love redemption arcs. And I'm telling you, Superior Octopus, I love the concept of this. Because I think you really couldn't take him any further. I mean, he had previously tried to kill all life on the planet, so where do you go from there? And, Dr. Octopus was accused of many crimes and was guilty of most, but none greater than the one I perpetrated upon that woman. I rationalized that I couldn't possibly reveal that the mind of Otto Octavius inhabited the body of Peter Parker. But what difference did it make, as I believed the situation to be permanent? I told myself our romance was based upon the meeting of like minds. And so, he has a little temper tantrum, and Odell comes over, obviously from Horizon Labs, now Horizon University, and he says, after Otto makes an excuse for breaking the monitor, of course, sorry to disturb. As I hope I've made clear, we embrace unconventional approaches here. Yeah, Modell, he's a doofus, but he's kind of an endearing doofus. So yeah, he talks more about, Modell is worse than a fool. Just enough genius to be dangerous. His unconventional approaches in New York led to one crisis after another. So yeah, he talks a little bit more about Anne-Marie. She must live her life happily, safely, with no idea that Otto Octavius watches over her. And I'm glad she's going to be a part of the series. Like I said, it's probably one of the best parts of that run. After last night's battle with the Night Shift, that was their name, Night Shift, San Francisco is asking, who is our new costume hero? And Anne-Marie is watching the footage, and that's what I love about this. She is so smart. So I got a little thing in my throat here. She sees Octopus, and then she sees Elliot over there, and oh, you have got to be kidding me. So she's already sussed out who he is. I'm going to be very unprofessional here. I'm going to take a little drink. Something's wrong with my throat. So Otto saves some people off a bridge. There was an accident, and and this is one thing I was wondering, how many people know that he used to be Dr. Octopus? Because obviously you see the metal arms, and the Night Shift immediately ID'd him as being, Dr. Octopus. So this firefighter says, you got anything to do with Dr. Octopus? He is dead. I was merely inspired by the brilliant design of his metal arms. That ego is so fun. Gotcha, but weren't you one of the guys that helped Hydra take over the world? And Otto stumbles for a second and then says, my mind was being controlled. The villainous Dr. Faustus was behind it. And the firefighter. I mean, that kind of stuff happens so often that the regular public in Marvel Universe must be like, yeah, sure. I figured it was something like that. Well, after tonight, you're okay in my book. We're going to have to skip some pages here. So basically, Aram Zola breaks into his lab, into Otto's lab. And, they're going to bring back Hydra after everything that happened in Secret Empire. And Otto only worked with Hydra, as desperation to get Parker Industries back because Peter is not a good boss and was mismanaging it. So basically, he fights some of the just regular mooks that come up, and Aram brings out brings out Goliath, the blind fighter. And, well, not quite blind. There's a reason why he's wearing a bandage. Um, so they trade blows a little bit. I just love that. Instead of the swip, we got squip. I'm loving this. So they fight a little bit and trade blows. Yeah, got some nice action going on here. And we're getting this a nicer little introduction to what Octopus can do. And it's addressing the history of the character, kind of bring him up to speed for people like me who didn't read the Secret Empire tie-ins. And then when Otto knocks the bandage that covers Gorgon's eyes, Aram Zola says, you only unleashed his greatest weapon because his name is Gorgon, of course. So Octopus, says no, and then freezes into a statue and becomes stone. And so since they couldn't get Otto to help Hydra, they're just going to break the statue, which he does. So Gorgon has destroyed Otto Octopus. Not bad for a first issue. And so while Aram Zola's waxing poetic there, we see a little bit of piano wire take out Gorgon's head. And Superior Octopus says, it appears that the evidence does not support your claim. And Otto says, oh, you thought yourself the world's greatest cloning scientist? And because, of course, Aram Zola clones himself. And that's what we see happen, is that Otto has been cloning himself, and which is funny because he was very anti-clone before, and especially after being killed by a clone. But Aram gets really pissed off, no one else has cracked personality transference. How did you steal my work, is basically what he's saying. And Otto says, I did not. I exceeded it. As I exceeded you, and tears him in half. So he's going to let Aram's consciousness get out to let them know I am unstoppable. And so we see that Otto talks about how he does have the cloning procedures and the mind transference. And here's something interesting. Basically, he's using the cloning abilities for the cloning technology that the inhibitors used during Spider-Verse. And, then he brags, Otto Octavius has conquered death. I am immortal. I am superior. Who can stand against me now? And so after that, we cut right into the Edge of the Spider-Verse. Edge of the Spider-Geddon. I'm really not going to go over this very much. It's more like a prelude to the series proper. But there is something interesting. As they're fixing up, cleaning up all the stuff, I guess, from the Spider-Verse and getting things back to normal. I didn't read Web Warriors after, the Spider-Verse thing ended. So all the spiders are starting to go back to their old homes and leaving just Spider UK and Karn, the inhibitor that turned good. Basically, the last ones left on Earth 1, the Loom world, when they get an alarm. And basically, the inhibitor's cloning technology has been reactivated. So, I guess whatever Otto did is bringing the inhibitors back. So, yeah, not really too much that I could really say about that. It's more, this is just an intro, not really spoiler, but like a prelude into Spider-Geddon. So, but I really think that's the main takeaway from all that. So, oh God, what is going on here? Is her body like all? Are they trying to make this Riri look as bad as possible? Oh yeah. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I love this book. I really, really love this book. Yeah, it's classic. No real political problems that I complain about with everything. We brought Anne-Marie back. Love this character. And I have to say, even with it being Gage writing this, I feel he got the voices down really well, of both Otto and Anna Marie from the superior book. In fact, there's even one point where, I think it's during Aram Zola when he appears, yeah, where, you know, Otto only said this like once or twice in the Superior Spider-Man comic, but everyone kind of makes that his tagline. They think it's kind of like the whole "beam me up, Scotty" type thing. The die is cast, and even Aram Zola calls him out on it. Quite an ignorant statement from such a learned man. So yeah, it's a fun book. I like the character. I love this book. Pick it up. I mean, this is a nice return to form. And after reading this, I actually am kind of excited to see what's going on with Spider-Geddon. And Gage wrote this too, so I'm gonna have to read this next. But I love this book. So, oh goodness, 20 minutes. I said I was going to be quicker. I need to talk faster or just cut out stuff. But I got really excited during this. I wanted to show it off. That's how happy I was. So, all right, as always. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.